3, 2, 1, go. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That's the podcast that improves itself, improves ourselves, and improves the self in general. My name is Ty. I'm going to be your host. And as always, I'm joined by my dashing co-host, Distance. And tonight we are doing part 2 of an episode we did, it was 2 weeks ago. We're doing 4 episodes in a row that are loosely intertwined. I think we found a stride doing like these like unofficial series where they're like topics that kind of tie together. I kind of like doing this. But we are going back to finish the episode on dating. So this is going to be dating part 2. So yeah, anyways, small talk time. How's your day going?
It's lovely. I'm glad it's over with.
Well, it's not over with yet. Just the shitty part is over with.
Yeah, the shitty part. The part that I didn't like is done.
The part that other people own is over with, and now you get the part of your day that you actually have.
Yeah, I claim the rights to this part of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So, where do we leave off talking about dating? The context of that is kind of funny. Where do we leave off talking about dating? I wanted to. You said no. I said I'll take you to Olive Garden. I'll buy you all you can eat breadsticks. You were like, but baby, I don't eat carbs. And no, that is not at all how that conversation went. But
and then you were like, just grab the salad, take the croutons off, suck it up. Like, no, suck it up, like be tough, like not the.
No, the salad, like literally, yeah. Just don't chew. Just literally inhale the salad. Yeah.
Eat the salad through a straw. Actually, dude, I don't really remember exactly where we left off. Also, let me put my microphone in an appropriate place.
I feel like I know one of the last things we were talking about was the strangeness and just variety of modern, I don't know what the right word is, like relationship categories, or how dating in at least modern times is an umbrella that covers a wide variety of different situations. And yeah, I don't know if it's always been like that or if that's kind of a newer thing.
I mean, I imagine that there were times where people were like unwilling to define stuff,
mm-hmm.
Or to sort of like kind of let things be what they were going to be. But I just, it's the idea that dating is such a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that probably with the existence of the practice itself, it's probably always existed in a way that probably had complicated like labels and stuff involved.
See, yeah, that's what I wonder. Like Lee just said in chat, like that open relationships have only been a thing since the 60s. And it's like we could say that maybe in Western culture, that like we know of in popular culture that it was, but it's like for other religions and other parts of the world, it's like, could we really say that that's not been popular in the past? Like, I don't.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, I cannot remember the name of the group, but there was like a group, a tribe of people. They actually exist now that are like, they're like a non-monogamous like culture. And that their whole thing with, so
do you know what part of the world this is?
I want to say it's South America.
Okay.
But actually, let me just look it up.
But are you saying that's like their predominant relationship structure is non-monogamous?
That's their culture. Like, okay. There's no such thing as monogamy.
Interesting.
Like,
okay.
There's no like singular unions or anything like that. Like everybody does their thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually several like modern groups like this, but there's one specific one because, so like, how one of the things that we do here is that we've talked about, anxiety is a feeling that you just have to deal with, and it's one that you need to get through and you need to understand how to handle it. Like same thing with stress and even we haven't really I don't know that we've really talked about anger management at any point, but there's things like that.
Yeah, but I think that's on the list, right?
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. And these are things that we need to address to be better people.
Yeah.
This specific group, I don't know if I was reading about it or I was listening, but this specific group viewed jealousy as the same thing.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like you will be jealous, but you just need to figure it out and deal with it, because this is our culture that everybody gets around to wherever, and the children are all raised as a community.
Yeah, because we accept that as something that's just like, it's like the episode we did about self-improvement, you know, how to start and when to stop. There's a lot of things that we look at as just like, well, that's just kind of a trait, and it's fine to accept that. It's not something that needs to be worked on or changed. And I think that we look at jealousy as kind of that. You ask someone like, oh, are you a jealous person? And they're like, oh yeah, I really am. But it's like that doesn't mean that they need to change it. They're just like, oh, well, that's just who I am. Like I'm a jealous person. That's interesting.
And it's something that just like, because we think that, you know, it's you that, you know, that you might get jealous of, you know, somebody like looking at your partner checking somebody out or whatever, but this is a group that, dude, I'm gonna find their name. I'm scouring now, but this is a group where, since, you know, everyone's gonna mess around with everybody, it's like just it's completely unavoidable. It's in your face all the time.
Yeah.
And there's no like hiding to try to spare people's feelings or anything like that. It's just like you're gonna get jealous, you need to deal with it, and you need to get over it. And they just kind of do that because they have absolutely no choice. So it's like, you know, maybe your partner can stop, you know, staring at people with their mouth hanging open in public that aren't you. But here it's like in the culture, oh my God, I'm going to find this. I might need to give up because it's probably going to distract me from the podcast.
But are you saying this is modern? Like they still live this way? Okay.
Yeah, it's a group that exists now. Oh my God.
I wonder what that's interesting, because I wonder what the fact that we're like looking for this one specific group means that this is not a very commonly found practice then among groups of people. We tend to be mostly monogamous, it seems. So it's interesting then that, like, if they exist like this in modern times, there must be some sort of inspiration for this. Like, where did this come from? Is it a religious practice? Is it like, or has it just been a habit that has been passed down, or tradition? I guess at that point you don't call it a habit. But
are we talking about like the dating thing, or like the pairing up thing?
Well, them not this culture, like basically not having an idea of monogamy at all. Yeah. Because it seems to be like,
because, well, I think one thing we talked about on both of the episodes regarding being single and also dating, the first one anyway. The thing that I think is the most relevant is that one thing that pairing up does for reproduction is that, you know, it takes this person who's going to have will physically be limited for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it takes another person who won't be. And then like there's this helpless creature that, you know, just flops out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's slightly more complicated than that. But
I mean,
and then it can't take care of itself, and it's much, much easier to, you know, handle that when there's a pair of people. But this specific culture whose name eludes me, I wish I could remember it. They raise children as a community.
Okay.
So every kid gets raised by everyone. So since it's a group effort, there's really no need for that.
But
the community.
Well, which is the cause and which is the effect? Did they start raising kids because they weren't in pairs to do that, or did they not need monogamy because they were already raising kids as a community like that? I wonder which.
I mean, who knows? I mean, it might even be that they started out pairing up and just relaxed those definitions over time.
Mm-hmm. Which
it's like,
I wonder.
It's
I mean,
better for everybody to be sexually gratified.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, that is like one interesting thing. I mean, we kind of like I touched on that some in the previous episode, but I do wonder. There seems to be like a puritanical influence in a lot of aspects of like relationship and things like that, like the interest in, I mean, and the like even the divide from like monogamous relationships in the West that I think we've seen recently, with a lot of people's like interest in like polyamory and things like that. I feel like that is kind of a rejection of like realizing it's like, oh, hold on, these traditional ideas of a monogamous relationship, how much of that is influenced by just our religious systems. And I do wonder this. I wish we knew where we could find this this group that they were speaking of, but I wonder what their predominant religious beliefs are and what kind of like what kind of belief systems they have.
Yeah, I'm trying really hard to find this actually, but
No worries.
This isn't something I was really prepared for, so I was like,
that's totally fine.
That I remember.
And it's something actually, I mean, honestly, the best thing to do would be probably we'll just find it after the episode, and then I'll make sure that the link to something about it ends up in the description. And that way there'll be something there, even if we were not able to find it like during the actual episode.
Okay. Yeah, we can find it and like put it in there later. But yeah, I think that a lot of like the getting married and pairing up thing, I think it's religious for like pretty much every I think probably all of this is, well, I don't know, because there are some cultures like what they call like animism or whatever, where you like it's not like where you worship nature or something like that.
I'm not familiar with that term.
Spirit.
I don't know. I mean, the etymology would make sense though, like from anima, I guess. So that would make sense. But
yeah, it's it's the attributing of a soul to plants, inanimate objects, and natural phenomena.
Okay.
So to the belief in a supernatural power that organizes and animates the material universe.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've definitely I've heard that idea. I've never heard the that name before though. Okay, animism. Okay.
Well, it's like the whole idea of like, I think that the where it started, at least for us, is because like this is essentially a European institution for us in the United States. Like that's how I think that a lot of it just started out as like, you know, what we talked about before, like, you know, land, political gain, all those things, that people would get married because of that. And that was the practical and reasonable goal for that to happen, that it was all a good thing for families or ruling classes or lands, or a way to make a truce where there's war.
I mean, I'm sure that there was like, you know, lust and other feelings involved with these, like that the two parties would feel. But yeah, it was mostly like business transactions that was going on.
And there's a thing I was actually watching. I think it was on Amazon. It's a show. I think I might have mentioned it to you, starring James May from Top Gear and Grand Tour.
Yeah.
It's called Our Man in Japan, and he's talking about this thing that is done where it's like it's a specific place where it's like popular to travel to for like salarymen, like guys that work for companies. And it's like accepted, historically it's been accepted that when they travel to this place or that place, that it is their privilege, their to have prostitutes, or what they call them, geisha or whatever, and that their wives are completely aware of this and totally accept it.
Okay, it's just a when in Rome situation. Like it's like that would not be fine in the home city, but it's like in this specific location, that's just a thing. Interesting.
Like you leave and then you do your thing, and then it's just sort of accepted, and your spouse accepts that. It's like, okay, you know, and there's a lot of situations where that kind of thing is just like sort of thought of as okay. And there's a lot of cultures in which I think, because, you know, like concubines were a very common thing. Like, I mean, you read about them in books, you read about them in historical accounts, you read about them in the Bible. I mean, there's like lots of people, like the person that they consider to be like the most brilliant, like Jewish like leader had like crap tons of concubines. Like it wasn't even like a weird thing. So
all right, no, hold on, forgive my ignorance. What actually is the point of a concubine? Is that
it's essentially just to have sexual gratification from someone other than your wife.
Okay, see, I didn't know if it was for procreation or not. I guess in my mind I thought that it was like so a leader would have no, but I guess like that. Never mind. I don't. The way I was thinking of it was that you would want to have children with multiple women, but it's like for most leaders you want to protect one specific bloodline. So that would be like completely against the idea of doing that.
It's essentially a mistress, or if you look at the definition, in polygamous societies, a woman who lives with a man but has lower status than his wife or wives.
Okay.
So it's like, it's actually not that different than a lot of modern polyamorous relationships. Like some polyamorous relationships are ones where like you just have multiple people that you call your significant other, whereas others are like more like, I guess that's more like an open relationship where you have like your main person, and there's these other people around. But it's not the same like as your central relationship, like that there's one that's just more important than the others. That causes a lot of problems for the tertiary relationships, though.
Yes. Well, that was one thing that I was gonna say is that I've never been in a polyamorous relationship. But I don't like. To me, it feels like it could be very complicated. That like you're having to deal with like in a like, for lack of a better word, like a traditional one-on-one relationship. There's kind of like one rule that it's like, okay, we're only doing sexual things with each other. Like unless it's an open relationship, that's kind of like the set rule is there's, well, I guess maybe not sexual, maybe intimate, I guess is like the best way to say that is like we reserve intimacy for this one other person. But it's like, depending on how many people or different people's rules, it's like you could have to like say, okay, well, this is okay with this person, but this is not, and I got to keep this in mind with, just, it seems like that could be very, very complicated.
And exhausting. And I mean, even if it's not that complicated, it's difficult to put energy into that many relationships at one time. That even if everybody's completely happy and there's no complication or weird jealousy among anyone, just having that many relationships concurrently is like,
Possibly, yeah. I don't know. I'm bad at I know that I'm bad at keeping up with like friendships and relationships like that. So, you're probably right.
I mean, at least for me, and I mean, I'm not the best at keeping up with that stuff all the time either. But it's like, I don't know, man. I just couldn't do it. It's just too much. I mean, I'm not saying that there wouldn't be some kind of, it wouldn't be kind of cool, I guess maybe, but it's just not for me. It's just too much effort, man.
Yeah.
But I think that it's weird because as the reasons for marriage changed, I think that dating necessarily arose from that.
Exactly. Well, not only like the reasons, but just the circumstances around, which I guess like stems from the reasons. But yeah, like as we when was the shift from most marriages being predominantly like predetermined and like we were talking about like business transactions to actual like when people began to choose their partners?
I think it was around the 1920s is what I saw, like in the research that I did. I think
that is much more recent than I would have expected. That's interesting.
I mean, that's when it became like really popular. I might need to look at some of my notes again, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that around the 1920s, because that's when, I mean, people were more about like having fun, and there's people doing like partying and things like that.
Was that so? When people talk about like the sexual revolution, that was mainly just like the 60s, right?
Yeah, that's when people started to be like more. I think it was the 1920s. It was related to an article that somebody wrote something about like calling the car like the brothel on wheels or something. I think I mentioned that.
I do remember that. Yeah.
But I think the sexual revolution was more like that. Instead of, it had more to do with like actual like sexual intercourse than casual dating. Like perhaps it was like, people would date each other, but they wouldn't, do anything sexual. And then like, I guess the 1960s, because there were still consequences, there were still clear consequences to having sex that could be, negative in many cases. But in the 1960s, I mean, there was no way that wasn't going to happen in the 1960s in the US because birth control.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. We can remove the arguably one of the worst of the STIs.
Yeah, the
pregnancy one.
The spawn.
Yeah. That is just insane to me how recent that is. I mean, I guess like I never really considered it before, but that's, I mean, effectively within one person's lifetime, we've seen that change.
But it also depends how you define dating, because like I mean, in the 19th century, there was like supervised visits, like between like young people, but they were at family homes and things like that. So it wasn't really what I would think of as dating.
When it's also too, I wonder. Well, I guess I mean it's me thinking of the time through my eyes now, but were those people choosing themselves, or was it two families saying, okay, you're going to start hanging out with so and so, and we're going to go over for a supervised visit?
I imagine probably the latter, or a combination of the two. More like, this is what we would like for you. Do you agree?
What's
that kind of thing.
It's so weird. I don't even like. I don't picture the "do you agree" as being part of it. That just seems like.
I imagine it probably wasn't. I was just trying to say that to feel better about being a human.
Yeah, trying to
give people a choice.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it is. I mean, we've brought this up before, but it is just like insane how, in so many different facets of life, how like just consent is a brand new thing. Like we are just like, I mean, our lives have gotten so good that we now have just the freedom and the luxury to think of things in a way that is like never in the history of the world been.
Yeah. But and the one thing to note too about marriages and things like that is that, and when Dr. Spock, like Benjamin Spock, the dude that wrote like a bunch of like those child raising, like developmental like books and stuff.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that guy, Dr. Spock?
No, I thought you were actually talking about like Spock. But
yeah, I know. It always weirded me out whenever I'd hear that, because it'd be like fascinating. That's what I would think of as.
Like he wasn't actually a doctor, right? I thought he was just a lieutenant. But
yeah, but this dude, like, he started like writing books in like the mid 40s, I think. Or
okay.
Like, actually, let me look. 46.
Okay. Right after the war. Okay.
Common Sense Book of Baby and Childcare. That's what the book was called.
Interesting.
And
okay.
Up until that time, people just thought of children as little adults. Like that, they would, you could go work, and you just, you do what you do, and you do what you're told, and you can do anything that an adult can do, and that's like, it wasn't until Dr. Spock, or at least in the West, that, and then it wasn't until Dr. Spock wrote this book that it was like, oh, there's a methodology that you can follow to do this, and he had like all these like developmental ideas about how best to raise children. So I mean, it's clear that there's probably a period of time where parents didn't care like what the kids thought.
Yeah, probably
about any of it. It's like, you're a child, you don't matter. You're not legally a human until you're 18. Like, or maybe 16, I don't know, whatever, 12, whatever the.
Which I mean that does kind of like, I mean, as silly as it is, and sometimes that does kind of carry over to that, like that whole my house, my rules mentality, where it is just kind of like, yeah, it's like, I mean, and sometimes that is the right answer with a kid that is just not going to accept logic. But I do feel like very often parents just kind of use that where they want to rule a certain way. It's just like, all right, well, yeah, my house, my rules, like, suck it. Hopefully they don't say it that way, but you know what I mean though? Cause there's a very different, like, there's a difference in my mind between like doing something wrong and doing something frowned upon. And I think that it's like, it comes down to like with laws the same way, where you can do something illegal that isn't actually doing something wrong. Like drinking underage, for instance. I don't know if I attribute like any morality to that. And I would say that it's like doing wrong. Do you know what I'm stabbing at?
Yeah, there's a difference between doing something that maybe seems somewhat improper versus doing something that's completely immoral.
Exactly, yeah. Like, wrong to me has the weight, or like carries baggage of like, it feels moral. When you say like you're doing wrong, it's different than just like doing something that someone else doesn't agree with based on like some sort of arbitrary rule. Like,
yeah, it's the difference between stabbing somebody and raking your fork against your teeth every time you take a bite. One like clearly hurts someone, the other one irritates somebody a bit.
Exactly.
Scraping their fork on their teeth annoys
me. No,
when...
you scrape your fork on your teeth, you're a monster. You stab someone, that's okay. That's fine. That's forgivable. But like,
how would you? What kind of person are you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, because I think that For a lot of this, I think it's difficult to really nail down exactly like when dating really became a thing, or like when it became a thing where it was a completely the choice of two adults as opposed to something like being arranged or
Yeah.
coerced or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I'm sure it was a gradient and changing at different paces in different places across the world. Like, yeah, it would be impossible to just give an answer for that. Like it was October 1st, 1901. Like, oh, okay, thanks. Cool.
But yeah, I've actually heard a couple like good history teachers talk about how overrated it is to memorize dates anyway.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stuff that I think is silly with the way we do education, but yeah, that's a completely different topic.
Hey, maybe we should do a podcast on that one.
That would be an interesting one. I'd be down with that.
That's a good subject.
Yeah.
We could do. Then I think that one thing that we didn't really touch on last time that I kind of do want to talk about, like, we didn't really talk about methodology and like how in the face of modern dating, how it is that we can flourish and how we can do that well.
Okay.
Or what ways we can like make ourselves more successful in that endeavor.
What is what's your opinion on that? Start it.
Oh, I was really just hoping you had one.
Oh,
and then
man.
I could just bring it up.
Okay.
And then
well, I can talk about what I've been trying. As far
you actually think I'm being serious right now?
Oh no.
I was just, oh my God, what do you take me for?
No, I was just rolling with it.
If I really did that, you should fire me.
No, I was just I was just trying to roll with it as well.
Actually,
it's yes and
I would actually like to hear your perspective on that. I'm actually curious because like I don't mean this in a bad way. Just because I know you, I didn't think you'd have anything to volunteer, or even if you did, that you wouldn't want to. But
no, I'm definitely down to. It's just like the way the question's posed is like how can we find success, and that is something that I've struggled to find myself. So that is something that I'm trying to find.
Well, what do you know doesn't work?
What I know doesn't work. Well, okay. Well, my answer for me would be the dating apps I've tried. However, I don't think that's a good blanket answer because the number of relationships that I see that start online, it seems to be very common nowadays. So I don't think that it's like an answer that like dating apps don't work. I think that maybe either something that I've been trying doesn't work, or the way I've been trying doesn't work, or maybe even I've been wondering like my like pictures and the way I create like my profile and things I say in it. I wonder if that needs to be like worked on. But so I don't think that it's like an answer that like, okay, dating apps are bad, don't try those. It's just I do think that as a guy in the dating world and online, I think is the exact same thing. You are like a dime a dozen. You are one of like any number of guys that your profiles all look interchangeable. There's not really much that's going to stand out about you. As sad as that is, I think that that's just kind of a truth. So I do think that there are things you need to do. As stupid as it is, like there's a reason why people call it a game. Like they talk about like playing the game. And I think there are like things you need to do. And my mind as like the nerdy gamer goes towards like the terms we use in gaming, but like to min max your profile and stuff like that and try to get like the best chance of success, I guess. Like, yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff. What those are, I have no idea. I'm still trying to learn. And there's plenty of like BuzzFeed articles and shit online that are trying to tell me what they are, but
oh God. And some of them probably have a good point, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, because at least for me with the dating apps, it was all about frequency. But I mean, it's like, I think that one thing that's good, that's not just like a good way to get someone's attention, but also to have an immediate like common thing, is that if you can put something on your profile that's humorous, that is completely in line with your sense of humor, then someone that finds that funny will probably end up like liking you or swiping right or whatever, just because it's the kind of funny that they like and that you already know that you have that in common.
I tried to do that. I did.
There's like the thing like where they say to post a picture of you doing something fun or something
Yep.
cool, or post pictures of you with a bunch of people. Don't you hate it when someone has nothing but pictures of them in a group?
Yes.
And it's like, which one of these 8 fucking people are you?
Yeah, you don't know which one it is.
Which face is in common among like their different pictures.
Yeah, I've done that, and then it turned out that there were actually 2 faces in common across all 5 pictures, and it was like, all right, well, you could either be this one or this one.
Yeah, it's either you or your best friend.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I did the humor thing recently. I thought it was funny to slide into the list of like one-liners. Well, I guess I shouldn't call them one-liners because that like the list of lines in my profile. I just put Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, just kind of like in the middle. I thought that was kind of humorous. So I figured like if someone's like scrolling through that and finds that and laughs at that, they'll like maybe chuckle and be like, oh, this guy's sense of humor is like mine.
But one thing that was actually, I don't really know if I could say that, but this has nothing to do with anything. But I thought it was hilarious that like after the election in 2016, all of a sudden on every dating app, like all of a sudden you see like Trump supporters swipe left.
Yep.
And I was just like, damn.
If you voted Hillary, swipe left.
Yeah, it's like one person that can like determine whether or not this person is desirable to you. It's just like, whoop, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just funny that there's individuals that are that polarizing.
Yeah.
It's neither here nor there. It's really it's completely off subject, but I just thought it was funny. But and the other thing with the apps is that like, I mean, I don't know, like I'm just not a fan. Like I don't like it because it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's just a shit way to meet somebody. But for me, the way that I ended up like actually getting dates on those, at least, because that was the goal for me, was to go out with people and like actually get to hang out with them.
Yeah.
With just frequency, just messaging as many people as I could that I found interesting, obviously.
Which that's like, I would consider that like the first time you're actually meeting them, the real meeting them. You know what I mean? Like I think that the app is just like a way to for lack of a better term, like cast a wider net to like have more possible like first meetings.
It's a way to get connected. You can meet somebody a couple towns over that you wouldn't have met otherwise, and that's
exactly
pretty cool.
Yeah.
But there is one problem, that when you put in a lot of effort on a dating app, it'll give you this. You'll have this illusion of investment very early, because you'll think of how much effort you went through to actually find that individual. And then and if it's someone that you actually end up having a relationship with, that'll increase that illusion even more.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And the
you're almost like considering time that you've spent on that app as like the time in this relationship, even though you haven't even met that person yet. Yeah, that's like interesting.
Investing in a relationship, even though it was just like an effort and like meeting somebody. Yeah. But one thing that drives me crazy is, have you ever seen like those, I think they're usually on YouTube, where like someone just pops up like, hey guys, you tired of only going on one date and girls not texting you back? Let me give you 3 easy hints sure to impress any lady. And then like, it's always some like tumbling dickweed. And like the advice they give you is actually like ridiculous and so unbelievably like generic that it just isn't going to work for anything. But I don't know. I don't like it because it's basically pickup artist type kind of advice.
Yeah.
And to me, like, it's so manipulative that it's like, ugh.
Well, that's what felt weird when I was trying to talk about like the app strategy, where it's like talking about like quote unquote playing a game and like min-maxing. It's like, that feels really like just shitty. Like that is not like, that doesn't feel genuine or anything. But it's the same thing with like a resume for a job interview. You know what I mean? Like, does it feel shitty or disingenuous to jazz up your resume? It's like, well, I mean, kind of, but it's the reality of getting that done. But I guess like that feels different because that's a little less personal than finding a mate.
Yeah, it's way less personal. I mean, you can jazz it up. You can jazz up a resume without being completely full of shit too.
Oh, just the way you word things, like, yeah.
But the thing with the dating apps for me is that I just one day decided, like, you know what, I'm done reading all this fucking advice shit. I'm done this trick and that trick and this picture and that picture. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to be genuine. So it's like, I'm just going to be completely, totally honest, throw everything out there, whatever it happens to be. If you like it, cool. If not, fuck you. I don't care. And that's like,
I wish I could have
that
seen
to
your
me,
genuine profile. I want to see what was on
actually,
there.
I wonder if I can actually, I think that, um, oh, I wonder if I might be able to find my Tinder one. Um, I said, one of the things that I thought was kind of funny, it was actually a joke, is I like said this thing, and this thing on Tinder, and it was like, also, I'm terrible in bed.
That's funny.
And I
That's
ended
awesome.
up having like a lot of matches after that because because I guess people thought it was funny. But I think my OkCupid one, I still might be able to actually pull it up. I don't know if I actually deleted it or just disabled it, so I could actually show it to you. But that thing is that that was actually a realization I had in my life, and I just carried it over to that. Like that, I just need to be as genuine as humanly possible. That I'm done trying to sell myself or trying to make myself seem like a certain type of thing or certain type of person. And like, this is just me, and if you like it, cool. If not, well, I don't care.
But with that being
And
said, there's still situations where you need to, like a job interview, you would still try to sell yourself.
yeah, but this isn't a job interview.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like there's some situations where you do, and then you draw the line when it comes to like actual personal relationships that you're, you want this built on real.
When I said in my life, I meant my personal life. But even at work, I'm pretty genuine.
Yeah, with like the interpersonal relationships at work. Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, in an interview, it's different. But like with the relationship thing or dating thing, like I'm not going to send my representative. Like I'm just going to be me from the very beginning, because you need to know what the hell you're getting into. And if this isn't something you want to get into, well, then you need not apply, that kind of thing. And same with me. Like I would prefer for somebody to be genuine with me, so I know exactly what the hell I'm getting into. It's like,
devil's advocate time though. What about the frog? What about the frog in the pot of boiling water thing?
Where I don't even know what you're talking about. What is that?
Okay, like, well, I mean, this analogy, you don't want to take it all the way to like killing the frog, but like if there's boiling water and you try to put a frog into it, they're gonna like jump right out because it's like, whoa, that's way too hot. But if you start the water at like lukewarm and slowly heat it, the frog will stay in until it dies. Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to get you into a relationship that's going to kill you.
This is so bad.
But no, like, is there a possibility that there's things that like on the first date, you're like, whoa, I don't want to get to know this person. But like, if they snuck them later, you would stay. Hold on. Yeah, this is not a good thing. I think you're 100% right. I think that it's best to like know everything right up front. Right. Yeah,
like it's I remember one date I was on, and this is actually someone I met. I don't remember how I met her, but I remember we went on a date, and went on a date. I was out with some buddies, and this person like she like kind of laid into me about some stuff and was like kind of like talking trash, and I thought she was cool, so we went on a date. And then like we were on so we went on our first date, and then we ended up at like a bar, and she shows me a photograph. She's like, "Do you know what that is?" I'm like, "That is a child." I was like, "Yeah, that's my kid." I'm like,
"Oh, okay."
I was like, "Okay."
I thought she was like, for $3,000 you could buy this child.
for 50 cents a day you could feed this child. But I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, you have a kid. And then she thought that it was going to be some terrible thing. But here's the thing. Like, if it was going to be like, oh, no, hell nah, then that's something she needs to know early on before I waste her time.
True. Yeah, true.
So, and it's the same for me. Like, I even like went on a date with somebody, and I was like, here, look at this. And I pulled up like this thing on the Muscular Dystrophy Association's website about like Becker's muscular dystrophy. And I handed it to this chick, and it's like, here you go. I was like, yeah, you think you can handle that?
Yeah.
And she was like, no. I was like, okay, well, I've enjoyed this date. Let's finish it out. Let's have a good time. Let's enjoy each other's company. But it looks like this won't be going any further.
Exactly. So, like, if you're looking for something long term, that hey, this is something you're gonna have to deal with.
And that's just like I'm just like, this water's boiling. Jump in it. That's kind of. I prefer that, honestly, because of the fact that like I can't date. I can't be in a relationship or like a long-term relationship with someone who's weak. It has to be somebody who can handle this shit, because they're going to watch me fall apart. And if it's someone that has this like dainty flower mentality, like they need a man to take care of them, well, sorry, I'm not your guy. Because eventually I'm going to be in a freaking wheelchair. Like there's all kinds of stuff that I can't do. So like you can't be weak and be in a relationship with me. You got to be pretty hardcore. You have to be able to handle the fact that like, you're going to slowly watch me be able to do less and less, and I'm going to be miserable because of it. Like If you can't handle it, then that's that. We're done. You know, and the same thing with a woman that has a kid. Like, if you can't handle that shit, like, you need to move on. Like, you know, like you know, I got myself a baby. You can't be doing none of this. Like, I gotta be there for my kid. You gotta understand that my kid is more important than you are.
Yeah.
And if that bruises your ego too much, then move on. Like, it's the same kind of thing.
Yep. Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, look, you need to know early on that I'm a millionaire, and if you can't handle riding around in a Lamborghini on the weekends, you're gonna need to leave.
All right, this is sounding pretty good. I think I can deal with. Are you taking applications?
Yeah, yes, I am actually.
You had me at millionaire.
Yeah, but you know, I was obviously I'm being facetious with the last one, but this is stuff that people need to know early on. And I would just prefer, like, you know, if you got issues with depression, I need to know now. Like, you got problems with anxiety, I need to know now. Like, you have a past addiction that you're recovering from, I need to know now. Like, I want to know all this shit. Like, you tell me on the first fucking date. It doesn't have to be the first thing, like, to say, like, hi, I have an opioid addiction. Like, okay,
this isn't CrossFit.
Yeah. So yeah, I am a CrossFitter. I'm a CrossFitter, atheist, vegan.
Yeah.
Or, like, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know.
Eternity. I'm a Mormon.
I don't know why in my mind, for like literally for a minute until I started talking it out, it was like, well, yeah, wouldn't it be better to, like, you get to know someone first and then you decide, like, but no, just like Lee said, it's like slowly revealing the red flags, or like sneaking in the red flags, or which, not like some of those things are red flags. They're just actual, like, situations of someone's life that it's like, hey, if we're going to be in a serious relationship, we need to know these about each other. But some are like red flags where it is literally like, yeah, let's get to know these things immediately, and you can make the decision if that's a deal breaker or not, like, rather than having to, like, make that decision with the sunken time thought of.
Yeah, and I'd even get into the conversation on a first date. Like, you know, we're talking to each other, we like each other, okay, and I'm like, all right, I need to know your red flags, let's do this.
Exactly.
You know? But this, and this. I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry, no, I'm not a Catholic.
Oh, hold on. See, hold on. You actually, you do that on a first date? You ask?
Hell yeah. I need to know. Like, if I don't feel, if I am one of your deal breakers, I don't want to waste your time.
Oh,
that's out of respect. That's out of respect for the other person, and also out of respect for me, because we exchange.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, that's just, and a lot of people think this is nuts, but, like, it's good. I mean, and another thing that helps you be successful with dating, because to me, successful doesn't mean finding a significant other. Successful means finding the right person.
Yeah,
having deal breakers is immensely important. You need to know just what you're not down with at all. Like, I mean, I won't date somebody that smokes just because I used to, and, like, that's that. Like, I don't want somebody that's going to get me started back on that shit.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a very respectable deal breaker, because it's not like, has nothing to do with, like, oh, you do this thing that I don't like, so I don't. It's more just like, hey, I know that if I'm going to spend a lot of time with a smoker, I'm probably going to pick it back up again, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and there's other stuff where it's like, oh, okay, so you leave time on the microwave. I can deal with that. No big deal.
That's a deal breaker.
Or, oh, is it? Or, like, or you do, when you see that the power went out, you don't set the clock. Like, you don't turn the light off when you leave the bedroom. Like, that's fine. That stuff I can handle. But there's other things that, like, everybody needs to have those, and they need to be willing to stick with them, because I think a lot of the time they'll kind of sell out on their deal breakers because they're afraid of being alone, and being because to me, being successful doesn't mean finding a partner, because then we talked about this the last 2 podcasts we've done, that if you put that above the person, then there's a problem.
I've got a really interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Well, so what I would consider, like, if you think you're not successful dating, like, if you have avoided the wrong person enough times, I would already call those things a success.
Yeah, I agree with that. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be, like, in a relationship to be successful.
Right.
However, though, what you were just saying made me think of, like, a really interesting avenue for this conversation I didn't even consider until right now, and we're, like, almost out of time, which sucks. But how to know when your deal breakers are actual deal breakers, or if you're just being too picky. How to know if your deal breakers are valid, I guess, or if you are just being too selective.
It's real easy. You just determine if they're reasonable or not. Because the thing is if it's something that's like, if something it's for people to decide on their own, but I mean, like that's really simple. I mean, all you have to do is just be reasonable. Like,
Well, because even
and really
reasonable is like
examine it.
subjective, right? Like one person's
Yeah.
reasonable as another person's ludicrous. But
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. I mean, like, if it's something superficial, it usually doesn't matter. Like, you have to have perfect butt cheeks. Like, well, sorry, like I wouldn't pass that. I ain't got no tuchus.
I got the Hank Hill butt cheeks.
Your anaconda don't want none. I don't have buns.
It literally wants none. Wants absolutely
wants
none.
None. Yeah. But I think that it's just people need to really determine, like, is this something that I seriously can't deal with in a relationship or not? And if you're being reasonable and if you're actually being very like self-aware about it, then we need to do a self-awareness episode.
Yeah,
by the way,
I definitely agree. Yeah.
And if you're being very self-aware about those deal breakers, then you're bound to have ones that are reasonable or valid or make sense or what have you.
And just like you pointed out on the other side, sometimes you may be willing to compromise those because of loneliness or whatever, and that is another thing you need to be aware of and try to like weigh. Is it like am I actually am I compromising something I actually believe in and I'm actually looking for just because I'm lonely?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like I can't date somebody who's deeply religious because it's just not going to work. No matter how great they are, it just can't. We have different worldviews.
I think I'm kind of the same way. It would just, it's not like, there's nothing wrong with being religious. It's just there's so many things that we would disagree on and want to do differently that I just don't know if it would work.
Yeah, I mean, arguably, you'd probably have different brains, like profoundly different brains too. Yeah, the point that Lee actually made in chat here about preferences versus deal breakers. Preferences are things that can be negotiable, and then deal breakers, you just have to determine. I think, and deal breakers are pretty obvious. Like when you have a deal breaker, it's going to be something major.
Yeah,
and it'll be obvious to most like normal people, most reasonable people, that it's a major thing that that's just what happened. Like one of my deal breakers is I won't date somebody that hits me directly in the face.
That's a good one. Yeah, exactly.
Twice in a row.
Exactly. I like that. Like preference, brunette hair, deal breaker, doesn't stab me.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are getting near the end here. Do you have a quote for this week?
Yeah.
Did you find one?
This one's only slightly related.
Okay.
It is about partnering up. So you know what? I should actually find out who this person is. Let me figure out who they are first, because I don't even know who said this. This is probably like the worst quote gathering I've done in a while. Rita Rudner, an American comedian.
Okay.
Oh, I know this person. Yeah. Okay. I think this is actually from a stand-up comedy routine. I love being married. It's so great to find that one special person you want to annoy for the rest of your life.
True. I like that. God damn, I need to stop saying
not too cynical.
That. God damn it.
Well, why don't you say you love it next time? Why don't you tell me you love it?
Fucking love it. You know what else I love? I don't want to say I love this. I was gonna say I love that we've reached the end of another episode, but no, we have reached the end of another episode of the Metacast podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the conversation, hit the like button, subscribe to keep up to date with what we're doing, and comment below and tell me a funny story from your dating life. If you're interested in further taking part in this discussion, or even being a guest on a future episode, join our Discord. The link is in the description down below. And we will be live next week. It's going to be live Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TylerTV. Thank you all for listening, and I hope everyone has a great week.